based on our best forecasts of how the relationship between journalists and their audience will evolve. There's no end of faith-based polemics on the subject of newspaper survival. Print is dead. Online readers must pay for content. Online readers will never pay for content. We should be a little suspicious of ironclad certainty. The fact is, we don't really know yet how the behavior of readers and advertisers will evolve. We don't really know how to separate the consequences of a calamitous economic crisis from the enduring changes in behavior provoked by new technologies. I think in the next year or so, we must examine all our options with an open mind, test those that are testable, and make some hard choices. Perhaps it reflects a lack of imagination on my part, but my best guess is that there will be no big bang, no magic bullet, no commercial deus ex machina. The remaking of newspapers will come in stages, and it will involve some trial and error. I'm often asked how often the Times will go all digital. Personally, I believe the printed New York Times, that old-fashioned bundle of ink and cellulose, has a lot of life left in it. As the Times design director Tom Bodkin likes to say, print is portable, shareable, and disposable, which means you don't have a heart attack if you suddenly realize you left it on the subway. It is recyclable, convenient, and durable, which means it won't break if you fold it and put it in your coat pocket. And it has an elusive quality that Tom calls thingness, a weight and substance and tactile presence. We sell about 1 million copies a day, and included in that number is a large pool of loyal subscribers who stick with us through controversy and price increases. Even if we fail to grow a new young audience of print newspaper readers, our median print reader is still under 50. I expect those people will tide us over until the digital revenues rise enough to keep us afloat. The printed newspaper may eventually become a cult product like vinyl LP records, or it may disappear altogether. I don't know, but I think we're some years from that day. One way or another, though, we need to make our journalism pay better online. Our online display advertising revenue is substantial and growing, though not as fast as it was before the recession. We hope and expect that growth to pick up when businesses crawl out of their recession bunkers. Beyond that, we're closely studying the experience of others who have set up paid turnstiles at their websites, and we are recalling the lessons of our own Times Select experiment, where we charge for access to our marquee columnists. The best-known paid news websites are the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times, which have some advantages in the paid content world. The Journal and the FT sell specialized business information to consumers who need specialized business information to make a living. We assume many of those readers put the subscription cost on their expense accounts. Moreover, it's one thing to inherit a paid website and continue to charge money, as Rupert Murdoch did when he bought the Wall Street Journal. It's another thing to start demanding payment for a website users have come to think of as free. And there's always a concern that charging for content will reduce traffic and diminish advertising revenues. That matters. I'm pretty sure that if the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal websites opened their books, you'd learn that we make considerably more money with our advertising model than they make with their subscription model. I'm not saying that we won't find a paid model that works for us. I'm just saying it's more complicated than it looks at first blush. And the same is true of the various proposals for voluntary contributions to our well-being. In my view, we should give serious study to anything that holds promise, but there are serious downsides to a not-for-profit model. For one thing, charity, however well-intentioned, sometimes comes with strings attached. For another, endowments are no insulation against economic hard times. Just ask Stanford University. And marketplace competition is mostly good for journalism. It's true that the scramble for readers' attention may contribute to tabloid sensationalism and press-packed feeding frenzies, but it also serves as a goad to aggressive reporting. I'm not saying I'd turn down a $5 billion endowment. At the moment, my position on that subject is entirely academic. When it comes to online journalism, my confidence in the future has less to do with the allure of any grand solution than with the versatility of the people in my own company. To be sure, the newspaper industry's initial response to the internet was usually defensive, sometimes complacent, often unimaginative. Some companies threw themselves protectively into the online classified business, but pretty much ignored the threat/opportunity that the internet created in journalism. Their websites for years had the look, feel, and timeliness of daily newspapers. Other newspapers created small online newsrooms with license to experiment, but locked them in the attic so that they would not pervert the real journalists. Or maybe it was just so the old farts wouldn't cramp their style. I don't know. Either way, that was a mistake because the people who bring you high-quality newspapers turn out to be surprisingly adaptable and entrepreneurial when called upon. And the people who understand digital are enthusiastic, inventive partners. Newspapers, including my own, have periodically reinvented themselves, adding features, revising formats, redefining markets. At the moment, we're demonstrating a good deal of agility in tapping the potential of web journalism. 4 years ago at the Times, we began merging the staff of our website, mostly young, mostly not raised in the church of mainstream journalism, into the newsroom of aging, technologically challenged hacks like myself. The collaboration of high journalistic standards and engineering proficiency has produced quite an explosion of creative energy. Journalists who are anxious about the wrenching changes ahead should take some comfort from the wrenching changes we have already embraced. At the New York Times, we are now doing things that would have seemed inconceivable 10 years ago and improbable 5 years ago. We break news constantly through the day, something that we used to dismiss as the work of wire services. We assemble topics pages, essentially living archives, that once felt more like the work of librarians. We invite our readers to our website and we engage them, which is a cultural sea change for an institution that used to deliver the news from a lofty height. Today we live blog congressional hearings and Final Four basketball games in real time. We fact-check debates as they are underway. We embed live video feeds on our homepage. We do interactive graphics that are the envy of every other news site. Even in times like these, when anxiety is large and budgets are tight, we keep launching new things. This week, it's a college admissions blog run by a first-rate correspondent, Jack Steinberg, who wrote a best-selling book on the subject. If you have a kid heading for college, or if you are a kid heading for college, this promises to be an indispensable resource. A few weeks ago, we began 2 hyper-local sites, one in Brooklyn, one in New Jersey, to test the market and the creative possibilities for local online journalism. We do these things well, and so far we've managed to do them without neglecting the care, reflection, and craftsmanship people have always expected from the Times. Where does this end? Earlier I quoted an NYU professor named Clay Shirky who writes about this subject with considerable common sense, although he's much more pessimistic than I am about newspapers. And his analogy for the disruptive power of the web is the Gutenberg printing press invented in the 15th century. Gutenberg's press is credited with being an important factor in the spread of literacy that produced the Renaissance. And there are many erudite studies of what the world was like before and after Gutenberg. But in the years immediately after the invention, Shirky points out, there was chaos. All the accepted philosophers, faiths, and historical accounts were open to challenge, and nobody quite knew whom to trust. It was a mess. As novelty spread, Shirky writes, old institutions seemed exhausted, while new ones seemed untrustworthy. As a result, people almost literally didn't know what to think. This is what real revolutions are like. The old stuff gets broken faster than the new stuff is put in its place. So how will these things work when the internet finishes shaking our world? Sharkey's reply is, I don't know. Nobody knows. Now is the time for experiments, lots of experiments, each of which will seem as minor at launch as Craigslist did or as Wikipedia did. For the next few decades, journalism will be made up of overlapping special cases. No one experiment is going to replace what we are now losing with the demise of news on paper. But over time, the collection of new experiments that do work might give us the journalism we need. On that uncomfortable truth, I agree. Nobody wishes more than I that we could have a clear map of the future with a pot of gold at the end. What we have going for us instead is a crying need, a shrinking supply, and the creative energy of some of the smartest people in journalism. That's enough for me. And if it's not enough for you, and you're a student embarking on a journalistic career, I hope I caught you in time to change majors. Thank you.